I still think, I mean, I'm curious to hear from other people on the panel. I keep thinking there has to be some version of the equivalent of crowdfunding for distribution. It just seems like we've been crying for that, some kind of solution to help movies, the better movies, get out there. And there is VOD. I'm not saying that that's not working, and the interview just made $46 million on VOD. But even within VOD, there's not a system to tell me as the viewer, you know, like, unless I know Chloe and she's my friend, I'm going to know her movie, but how I find what's good, you know. So I still think that's a really fundamental problem. I don't know if you guys have a comment on that, but.
Is this on now? Okay, good. So just from our perspective, we feel the same way, and you know, at Indiegogo, we don't just want to be one part of the process. We're trying to help filmmakers through the whole process. And ideally, you know, if you want to keep the keys in your hand, here's an option that we can help you with. And so just on Saturday, we announced a partnership with Vimeo, where they're going to basically provide matching funds up to $1 million for campaigns on Indiegogo if they, in exchange for a 60-day window to go on Vimeo On Demand. And also contribute and you also be up for marketing spend from Vimeo to promote that movie once it actually comes out. So this is kind of the first step in the evolution. We would eventually like even more kind of resources for filmmakers to be able to kind of streamline that process where you go to Indiegogo, you take all that audience you kind of garnered in that and all the attention, and you just kind of transfer it. In this case, in Vimeo, it will be through our API. Like, it will be a seamless transition to get everyone who contributed there and all the promotional elements just seamlessly over digitally. So that's, you know, one part of the larger picture that we're trying to help filmmakers with.
It's a drama, right?
It's a drama, and it's about a teenage girl, and it was going to be basically starring somebody who's a no-name. So it's a female story without a star, with a first-time director.
Well, they're lined up to finance it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That said, it was such a brilliant script, and so to kind of go back to your question before, which is like, is it harder to make or harder to be seen? Like, it really depends on the project.
Can I ask what the budget was?
You can ask, but I can't tell. It was $500 million. But you know, you have to be
under $1 million. Safe to say?
No, that's not safe to say.
I haven't seen the film yet, but that comes up now, which is interesting and entertaining, which is, we keep talking about the power of social media on the marketing side, on the distribution side, but also now when we're putting together films, there are the obvious names, which people, you know, which you recognized when you just rattled off, but there are also people that maybe I wouldn't recognize who have a certain amount of, you know, Twitter followers or have a huge presence on YouTube. And so as we're trying to figure out these marketing campaigns, you get asked when you're in these situations, what about, you know, this person who has 6 million Twitter followers and will be able to blast that over the place, and how will that monetize, and how much will that be key in driving and bringing in a different audience? So it's a little bit of a weird part and parcel of building these films these days, and sometimes it's a positive.
Do you think that's a bad thing? I hear that all the time, that people are being pressured to cast in movies because they have big Twitter followings, or big social.
I think there's examples where it works and there's examples where it doesn't work, and I think that's true of anything, you know. So I find as an agent, as a representative, as a salesperson, but also really just as a fanboy who you know got into it for great stories, it's hard. You have to compromise, and it's hard to go to filmmakers and say, I love your movie, it's phenomenal. Now if you can just stunt cast Anthony Hopkins as X meets Y, we can get the financing. It's just part of what we do, and it's part of the necessary poison at times, you know?
Well, I just want to go back quickly to your question. I think it's related of, is it easier to make it or distribute it? I think the answer is pretty obvious. I think it's easier to make it these days than distribute it. Depends on your expectations. But I just want to say I'm so excited where we are today. I think filmmaking should not be for the elite. It should be for everybody. I understand the fear you're saying that there's too many movies out there that was made on Indiegogo, but that's okay. I think every the kid that's on the reservation should have an ability to be able to make a film, even though they're not as good as our film, you know. And I'm hoping there's somewhere out there will figure out how that distribution thing is going to work, how content is going to be managed. But the way technology, the way camera has evolved, that we will be able to make stories. I'm from communist China, and now I'm on the Indian reservation. So I think, I honestly think that it's a gift that we have, that be able to tell stories. And it shouldn't just be the coast, New York, LA, shouldn't just be for the elite with money.
Tell us a little bit about what can Box do for filmmakers?
What a company like Box can do for filmmakers is it really sort of lowers the bar for access to these tools. Box is not a niche solution. It's a very broad solution, and we help companies as big as GE and as small as 2 people that have a company together that need to share things that aren't in the same place. And the cost for doing that is sort of ridiculously low compared to what people used to have to spend on these tools. So whether you're at an agency and you need to collaborate with your writers and producers and directors that you represent, or whether you're producing a movie and you've got people around the world working on it, what you have is this ability to actually share all of the important information in a cloud environment that's secure and it's going to be there. And if people aren't supposed to have